Welcome to the Big Dawg Crypto Podcast. This is your number one crypto podcast to hear directly from the movers and shakers, innovators, and disruptors in the cryptocurrency industry. Follow on Twitter for updates and to communicate directly at Woof Big Dawg. That's at Woof Big DAWG. Now, here is your host, the one and only Big Dawg Crypto.
And welcome to the latest episode of the Big Dawg Crypto Podcast. I'm your host, Big Dawg Crypto. And, this morning turned out to be a very, very busy morning in crypto, in the industry. And I happen to get one of the best people that analyzes probably at the worst time, because this is when he is nonstop. Nebraskan Gooner, brother, how are you doing?
Good, man. How's it going? I appreciate you having me.
Man, look, I appreciate you making the time. I know you're super busy. So this is the 33rd episode of the Big Dawg Crypto Podcast, a special one. But I want to go back to my first guest on the episode one. I had CZ on. It looks like in the past 24 hours, my first guest, is he causing problems or making things happen?
Wow, man. Acquiring FTX. That's crazy. I guess they're trying to, maybe they teamed up to try to have the least market impact, which you could see, I guess, in the chart. Everyone thought that was the right call because Bitcoin spiked probably 5 to 10% in maybe an hour or half hour. So we'll see though. Usually these kind of FUD, the news driven pumps and dumps, they kind of level out and they kind of go back to median afterwards anyway. So we saw the FUD driven dump. Now we're seeing the news driven pump, and it's probably going to find an equilibrium, right in between that level.
But it's interesting because we talk about, and I was looking at your tweet where you said who had Binance acquiring FTX on the 2022 bingo card. And, it's funny because I appreciate him coming on that first episode. It was great to have him on. But watching him throughout the years, and you've been in the space a long time too, Binance has gotten so big and they've gotten so powerful. And let's be honest, FTX was a very big exchange. When you look at it going forward and you look at the whole industry and stuff, I look at you as a technical analysis, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what you do. How much does fundamental analysis play in with things like that or events? I don't want to say how hard or difficult does it make it, right? Because you put in a lot of time, a lot of effort, but as a TA, how do you look at things like that? Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't trading today, because when there's these heavy news driven events, TA works really well. Tell me the news. I'll show you the chart is a term I've heard quite often. And it basically means, there was bullish news. Well, look, the chart was just breaking out, or the chart was just at support. It's kind of weird because I was looking just at the low time frames, like 1, 3, 5 minute charts. And on Sol, there was a really nice double bottom, picture perfect volume. Everything was absolutely perfect. And I didn't want to share it on Twitter because I was like, well, it takes one news driven negative FUD event or any more negative news to come out to drop the price another 5%. So I was just kind of watching it, and it played out perfectly. And of course, right after it broke out from resistance to confirm the double bottom, literally within a couple minutes, that's when both of them, SBF and CZ, had posted that they were that Binance was acquiring FTX, and of course that double bottom breakout that had just confirmed took off. So it was pretty. It's always interesting to see how often probably 90% of the time you're going to see news reflected in the chart, and the chart could have predicted that price action anyway.
And that was just one of these, we look at like the wildest events in crypto and whatnot. To me, this is going to go down as one of the more wild ones.
Yeah. Definitely a crazy day, crazy price action. A lot of people probably getting their ass kicked. As a technical trader during times like this, where there's a lot of news going on, a lot of uncertainties, that is the absolute best time for me to sit out and just kind of watch and enjoy the show from the sideline.
So that's the thing. So bringing that inexperienced traders or newer traders coming into the space, let's say somebody just started this week. You're going to learn a lot of stuff just watching. What time frames do you like to look at? Are you, 1 hour, 4 hour, 15 minutes? And let's say people that are trading short term, what time frames do you like the best?
I don't have a favorite, whatever time frame I can make money on is the best time frame, right? And that's pretty much all of them. I'm not as good of a swing trader. In these conditions just make it a little bit tougher anyway. But I excel on low time frames. So like anything around 15 minute, that's going to be my sweet spot. But for newer traders, they're just going to get their asses kicked on low time frames, anything lower than 15 minutes. So if you're a new trader, I'd recommend learning charting on a daily chart, and then maybe getting down to like the 4H and the 1 hour charts for some confirmation. But going any lower than that, you're going to have to build a little bit different strategies. Price action's a little bit different. It's easier to fake a 5-minute candle than it is to fake a 1-day candle. As far as like one big buy or sell order on a 5-minute chart can affect that candle dramatically right before a candle close, and it can look a completely different candle than it really should, and the price might not actually reflect that afterwards. We're on a daily chart. It's hard to fib on the close on a daily chart.
Well, when you looking at trading, how long have you been in the space for? And then did you have experience before that in trading?
5 years now. So no, I didn't have any experience with trading, but I've always been a numbers and patterns guy and puzzles and, problem solving. So this was kind of right up my alley, and I kind of just picked it up pretty quickly, I guess.
Okay. And that's so what new people coming into the space is, there's a lot of new people that will tune in the podcast, and I'll try and like give them that advice and whatnot. What would you give them advice or suggestions of the best way to learn how to be a good trader, a better trader, right? And
right. I mean, I think the first thing is just expectations. Like a lot of people just think they can sit down and become a full-time trader. I learned to trade while I had a job, and then all of a sudden my trading was getting in the way of my job, but that was after like 3 years. So it wasn't happening right away. I didn't just quit my job and go straight into trading. I literally was just expecting it to be kind of a side thing until it just literally took over. And my day job became a nuisance to trading. So that's when I knew it was time to quit. So having that expectation of knowing that it's, like 90% of traders fail. So you have to study harder than everyone. You have to, be in that top 10%, and you don't get in that top 10% by doing anything other than studying textbooks, online from other traders, that are successful. There's just so much that goes into it. I think people just jump in right away. They drown immediately. They jump in the water, they drown immediately, and they don't want to ever swim again. Or if they do swim or they go near water, they're scared, and it's going to affect their whole psyche every time they log in to try to look at a chart. So I did a lot of initially, I didn't trade for the longest time. I just studied the charts, practiced. And then when I did start trading, I was using paper money or, like very, 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 very small amounts. So, I mean, that's the key. Risk management from a newbie perspective is going to be your absolute best friend. It's the only way you can survive. You have to understand risk management before you do anything in the market. So that's definitely the utmost importance. And I was taught that early by my mentors. And that's really stuck. And I think that's really why I've been so successful, is because I've just never really, I've taken some large losses before, but I've never really taken that loss, that defining loss that just completely wipes you out or whatever. And I think that's the absolute goal in the end, right? Is to just survive and have enough capital to keep playing.
Right. Well, there's no doubt about that. You talk about risk management and capital preservation. I mean, that's the main things right there. When you look at the space right now, so you said you've been in about 5. So you've been in since 5 years, 2017, which is a long time. I mean, we look at the whole industry. Like you tell people we've been around with 12 years. So you've been in 5, been almost half of the whole time.
That's true. It's a good point.
What's the big? And this is really kind of a general question, and I don't really even know I don't know how it is. Okay, but what's the biggest change you've seen from when you got in to now? Because I got in 17, and I said I don't even know that I can answer. Like other than maybe that's more widely known, right? The whole industry is. But what would you say is one of the biggest changes, or 2 biggest changes you notice now from 5 years ago?
Like fiat on and off ramps are a lot easier.
Okay.
Crypto's more accessible now. It's a lot easier to buy crypto if you want to. You don't have very many companies like rejecting crypto now. Like there was a lot of companies that like wouldn't let you buy crypto with a credit card, or like
it freezes.
It was hard to buy crypto back in 2017. Like I had a hard time doing it other than Coinbase. But back then they had like 3 assets. So there'd be all these altcoins. I remember Walton Chain. I wanted to buy it at 50 cents or below 50 cents. And I could not find an exchange that I could get on that I felt comfortable with to put any money on. And that damn thing went from whatever sub 50 cents to like $45. So, I mean, it's just crazy now. It's just so accessible. And there's a lot more dilution in the market now, right? You've got NFTs, you've got different chains, you've got Soul Chain, Binance Chain, blah, 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 right? Like you've got all these different networks with all these different tokens, and NFTs now. So the market cap is really all the funds in the market are really being diluted now, and you're not seeing as many crazy altcoin pumps or that crazy big alt season like we had in 2017, right? But yeah, of course, adoption's gotten more. There's more adoption. More people have more confidence in crypto now, right? Like, oh, I can buy crypto because it's here to stay. Like, it's legit. It's not going to be banned by the government. And I think that was the biggest concern back in 2017 was government banning it, right? And then China banned it in that November or October, and it dumped like 10 or 15, 20% a day, and then instantly got bought back up. But that was the biggest FUD back then was banning. And now if somebody bans it, it's like, oh, 1% drop. Nobody cares. It gets bought right back. Right.
Well, you just said something. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, you're right, because it's like whether it's China banned it 10 times, and you remember like back in the day that would cause a huge drop. That India banned also, and so it was always. And somebody messaged me yesterday, and he was like, "Yeah," he says the thing with Sam and CZ. Wow, this is going to be really bad. This and that, and then he's like, "I wonder if it doesn't affect the market as much." And I'm like, "Look," I said, "My opinion." I says, "Look, this is a big deal. There's no question about that, right?" I said, "But I don't think, and this is just my opinion. This is just." Without doing analysis on it, that we're going to drop to 14 to 13. I don't think so. I feel like there's so much institutional buy support, right, between that 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 range, that you don't have the same sort of effect, right, as you had. I mean, this is still a big effect, but it's almost like maybe the space is maturing in a sense where we're kind of used to these things, not like quite like this, right? But the banning, right, doesn't seem to have the same effect as it did before. I think if I'm kind of what you're saying, huh?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of what's the word? Like numb to it now. We just
yeah.
Oh, somebody banned crypto again. Ha ha. Like it doesn't. Nobody cares. Back then, it was like, oh God, China banned crypto. Are they?
It would drop.
Are they really banning it? People would like sell everything. They'd liquidate all their assets. They're like, oh no.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was crazy. Definitely don't have that anymore.
Well, looking ahead, and then one other thing on crypto, looking ahead, let's say in the next 3 to 5 years, what would you like to see in the space? What are a couple of things that you're like, okay, if we get to this point, right, or I see this, this is what I'd like to see?
That's the loaded question. I don't know. Yeah. My biggest thing is I want to see some new altcoins come into the space, with actual projects. Because those are the altcoins that ran the hardest in 2018 or 2019, 2020, whenever the bull run was. What was it, 2020, 2021? The altcoins that were new had the least upside sale pressure, so they were the ones that were going the hardest, right? So that's kind of what I'm waiting for. A lot of people are emotionally attached to a lot of older altcoins, dino coins or whatever you want to call them. And we've seen historically they just don't tend to do as well on the next cycle. So I'm interested to see what new assets come out, which ones are worth investing in, for a year or whatever, because of course we know altcoin cycles go down 90% at any given time. So I'm definitely going to be looking to take profit on them again. But, that's my biggest interest, is to kind of see what comes out of the bear market.
So then that leads to the question that everybody asks. I get this a lot. I'm sure you get a lot too. When alt season, right? When is the next alt season?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have a crystal ball, right? I always say when Amazon sends me a crystal ball, I can tell you. But if you had to guesstimate, what are your thoughts?
Well, it depends on your definition of an alt season. I mean, what CHZ Chili's is up like 100% in the last couple weeks, right? Link just did like a 15% pump yesterday. I remember AXS last week did 15%. So. I mean, that could be an alt season in and of itself if you want to consider it that. And for me as an intraday trader, that's beautiful. That's all I need,
Nice. Yeah. No, I get you on that. So let me ask you, just wrap a couple of personal questions. What sort of food? You going to eat some food? What do you eat? What's your favorite food?
Favorite food? Oh man, I like anything. I don't know. Anything that's like, I've been on a health kick lately. So I've been doing like a lot of chicken and rice. So, yeah, I don't know. That's a tough question.
Well, I know, because there's a lot of good food.
If we're just saying favorite food, it's probably got to be like loaded barbecue nachos, like just some nachos with some pulled pork brisket or something on them, barbecue brisket. I don't know. That's my go-to.
Can't go wrong with that. And then one of the things when you're working and stuff, I always like to ask my guests. I'm always interested in the background. You have music on, you have podcasts, you have TV, silence. Like, what is your background?
I just use some Pandora. Stuff. Yeah, just throw on some like music. I don't have it too loud because it'll distract me, but I need something to keep my mind from spacing off, I guess. So just a little bit of noise. Yeah, nothing crazy.
All right. Well, very cool. Very cool. Okay. And let's ask people if people want to know where they can find you. Where do they find you on Twitter? What's the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, of course, Nebraskan Gooner on Twitter. I've got a ton of educational platforms and free content everywhere. I've got my YouTube. So if anyone wants tons of free educational playlists, I've got a trading for beginners series. I've got a leverage trading series. The list goes on and on. So it's all free. If you want to subscribe to my YouTube, I really appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, that's where you can find me. And all of my links are in my bio for, anything that I provide.
Okay. Well, look, I appreciate it. I followed you for a while. You were one of my favorite in the space. Your stuff has been very spot on. I've enjoyed it. So thanks for coming on the program. I do appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right. The latest Big Dawg Crypto podcast with Nebraskan Gooner. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Big Dawg Crypto podcast. Follow on Twitter at WoofBigDawg. Woof, Big DAWG. And run faster than the competition. Woof, woof.